Lijep pozdrav svima. U studiju UNIDU televizije je profesor dr. Richarda Farkasa DePaul sveučilišta u Chicagu. Već smo imali priliku ugostiti ga na UNIDU radiju, a ovaj intervju bit će na engleskom jeziku. Ja sam Klara Zvanić. Hello, professor, and welcome to our new TV studio.
Thank you, Clara. It's great to be here.
So this is maybe your first time in the TV studio, but it's not your first time at the university.
Absolutely
Lately, for the past few years, thanks to the Global Learning Experience program.
Yeah, it's one of our university's efforts to try to give more students of our own students, more opportunity to connect with things in the world at large. We're convinced that the world is spinning faster and faster, change is taking place, and there's really no place to hide. So our students need to be exposed as possible. This particular GLE, Global Learning Experience, is unique in the sense that normal GLEs create one American relationship with one non-American relationship. In this case, we connect with 4 different places: South Africa, Ukraine, Georgia, and Croatia. And that gives students an opportunity to feel all of the exposure to cultural and political and just how young people are approaching these issues in different places.
So have you been to all 4? I know that you are right here in Croatia right now. Have you been to all 3 others?
Yes, actually. Actually, for the last decade or so, I've done a number of State Department projects in Ukraine. It's been awkward, of course, because of the violence there. But yeah, we've worked very hard on a relationship with Ukraine. And that's one of the more unique parts of our GLE, because students are sometimes interrupted by having to go to a bomb shelter or, have other things on their mind that certainly could distract them. But they're very dedicated. Durban, South Africa is a place like Chicago, not the capital, but a major city. And I've managed to connect there. The students there are parts, by and large, from the Zulu tribe of Africans, and that makes that interesting. Of course, here in Croatia, we have a wonderful connection, and I have some heritage in Slavonia. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was from there. And Georgia, of course, has had recent problems with the Russians too. So it's all really quite interesting, and students come with a variety of experiences and ideas that they share.
Oh, sorry. Of course, cultural differences can vary from country to country, especially, let's say America and Croatia. Have you gotten the chance to maybe talk to our students here and see how different we
Sure. I mean, we're always searching for an awareness of cultural differences. But to be perfectly honest with you, as the world spins faster and faster, and as communication is super instantaneous and sophisticated, some of those cultural differences have vanished. I find Croatian students very much in the mainstream of what I see among American students, at least middle and upper class American students. But there are nuances of difference and different paces. The lifestyle here in Dubrovnik is more slowly paced than what we have in a big city like Chicago. But far more important than what I see as the differences, I'm anxious for the students to engage with each other, mm-hmm. to find what they think is significant about the similarities or differences. Certainly the South African students are substantially different. And the Ukrainian students, while under normal circumstances wouldn't be, under the duress of a ongoing war, they have issues of a different sort and perspectives of a different sort. So yeah, it's not like a movie. It's a little like a series on TV where every episode can be different. Mm-hmm. And each time we offer the GLE, what we get out of it seems to be different.
When we are on the subject of young people, we can touch up on the super election year, which we are in right now. Yeah. Half of the world's population is expected to go to polls in this year, and including United States, you have the presidential elections, which are scheduled to be on Tuesday, November 5th, if I'm not mistaken. And, primary elections are already ongoing. And for us in Croatia, we will be attending the presidential elections, parliamental elections, and the European Parliament elections.
Right.
So it's all happening for us, I would say, with a 3-year pause. A lot of young people, turned 18 in those 3 years, and this will be their first opportunity to go to the polls.
Yeah, the bottom line is I think this is an explosive development with things. 71 countries in the world are voting this year. And that means that it's almost like a laboratory in which we can take a more intense look at what's happening. Now, to turn to the youth vote, let's put it as briefly and clearly as possible. Politics in America is a mess. People are not satisfied with our choices, and I think some of the candidates are genuinely dangerous. Not to mention they're older than I am in some cases, which is incredible. But young people in the last presidential election turned out because they became clear that one of the candidates was clearly not acclimated to American democracy. Acclimated to something else, God only knows what. So the question for Americans in this coming election is, will the young people come out again? And if they do come out again, there's a clear correlation between how educated young people are, and people in general in America, and whether they find one candidate or the other acceptable. The more educated a person is in the American election, the less likely they're going to support Trump. Now, it occurs to me that in all of the elections, young people are pivotal, not just because of their number, but because really they are more energetic, or could be, and two, they're the next generation. So they're the ones who ought to be looking forward and saying, what do we want the society to look like? And so, at least from a professor's perspective, listening to them is crucially important. Whether or not their choice becomes the ultimate choice, at some point it will. When they, in fact, take over the more middle-range positions in the society. So young people are crucial. And what we teach young people about how important it is to engage. Now, voting is one form of participation, but I'm one of those professors who thinks that what goes on between elections is even more important. And I'm always encouraging my students to pay attention to elections, but to pay even more attention to what happens between elections, because that's when politicians can begin to ignore their commitments, or what they've told young people the future should look like. So there's lots of important things going on right now.
So I actually did some light reading on news articles from America about young people and elections. And what I gathered from that, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong, that young people are more interested in ideas and less into actual parties.
Yeah, and I think it's clearly the case that American political parties have disappointed just about everyone. Even people who support Trump and the Republicans have been disappointed by the inactivity, the passive role that political parties have taken. The American Constitution doesn't say even a word about political parties, and generally speaking, there's been a great deal of skepticism about what function they perform. And as political scientists, we have a lot of concerns about that. They seem to lack integrity and commitment to platforms and principles and things like that. So I think, there's a good reason for young people to have less confidence in a party label. Interestingly enough, one of the things that political science professors are always asked, so how do you decide who to vote for? And my answer since I was a young person has always been the same. I listen very carefully to what candidates say, and I select the person who knows what he doesn't know. You understand? Because the resources in a country like Croatia or the United States are so robust that if I know I don't know much about agricultural policy or higher education, I know that I can turn to capable people who do. The real danger, it seems to me, and the person I never vote for, is the person who says, no, I know it all, I can understand all of these issues. And those people are the ones that make it simple, unreasonably simple, and I think betray the interests of society generally.
The situation you just described kind of reminds me of, Croatian politics as well. So according to the Barometer survey published in December, 1/3 of young people in Croatia don't even care about internal politics in Croatia, and let alone they don't even know what's going on.
I believe that. The Eurobarometer also, though, says that Croatia is at the very top of the list in Europe in terms of students, young people who are acclimated to the computer. Now, that means that they've got the opportunity to engage themselves both with information and other activities and seem not yet inclined to do it. And so as educators, I think what we really need to do is to make young people like yourself aware that it's right there on the table for you. You need to engage, you need to sample, you need to think about politics and make what you consider, not what I consider, but what you consider to be reasonable judgments.
So the first time we learn about politics, besides, home, what our parents teach us, is when in fourth class of high school, we have politics and economics. That's when we are 17 or 18. Do you think that's too early, too late?
Well, I don't think it's ever too early or too late. I think there should be more emphasis earlier on, maybe not a formal course, but I think high school teachers, especially gymnasium teachers, need to be aware that so much of life is impacted by politics that they need to make those connections for young people. So if the discussion is, no matter what the discussion's about in their classes, whether it's geography or something else, or business or, I don't know, philosophy, they ought to make clear that politics is connected to those things. And the atmosphere in a society is very carefully managed. Some would say manipulated, but I would say managed by the people who we put in authority. So we should care. It matters. And the opportunities that you as a young person will have in the society are conditioned by the intelligence with which we make choices in public policy. So get involved.
So one thing why young people in Croatia, I can say, don't want to get involved is because they don't think that their voice, their vote can make a change.
Yeah, I think I understand that. I mean, but that's not unique to young people. I think everybody imagines that their voice is too muted, too singular to make a difference. For that reason, it's just not the voice. You see, to me, when you get an opportunity to vote, that's a moment in time when you can voice your choice. But you remember I was talking to you about what happens between elections. I think that's when your voice really matters. That's when you say, all right, I haven't left my concerns aside. I want to keep pursuing that. I want to see if the person I voted for was truthful with me, whether they're committed. And so I need to be involved all the time. I need to be active all the time. And I'm guessing for you that your voice is even more clearly heard between elections than it is at election time. You remember at election time, there's all the advertising, all the speeches, all the carefully designed appeals and slogans. Between elections, that's when you can actually see what's happening in reality. All the window dressing and all the slogans tend to go away. Now you can see it more clearly.
Well, when we are already on a subject of, we can say motivating young people, I don't know if you heard about this, but Vice President of the European Committee, Margarita Skinas, he actually suggested that European Commission engages singer Taylor Swift to help encourage young voters to vote. Because I don't know if you know, last September, Taylor Swift, asked her Instagram followers, 272 million to be exact, to register to vote in the United States. And within hours, vote.org reported more than 32,000 new voters, which is a 23% jump.
It's a phenomenon, clearly. And one of the things about Taylor Swift that's not so common among celebrities is she's intelligent, she cares, and she has a sense of social responsibility. So, I'm a big fan of using any kind of celebrity or influence to get young people to recognizing their opportunities. But it's always been the case. I think very often actors and sports, icons, and people of all shapes and sizes, television personalities, ought to be more forthcoming, more honest and straightforward about encouraging people to engage. And so I applaud. She has shown herself to be a rare case of a celebrity that doesn't seem to be overtaken by her fame. Mm-hmm. She's got a focus. She's a regular person who understands that society is not separate from her life, but very much a real part of her life. And I'm pretty impressed. She's done some things financially with her money that make sense, supporting her own staff and rewarding them, generously and so on. So good news, really.
You seem to know a lot about Taylor Swift. Are you a Swiftie?
No, I'm a little too old to. I obviously, from my comments, I appreciate her value in this society. I like all sorts of music, and I fancy myself as a person who likes popular music, but I'm getting pretty old, and so you won't find me in the audience. But I will say about her what I think is so important, and that is that she's a responsible global participant in things that are important.
So for the end, I just want to circle back to the global learning experience.
Sure.
And touch upon Pero Maldini. Yeah. He's one of the winners of the Thomas and Carol Damridge Faculty Innovation Award given by your university, DePaul College. Yeah,
our GLE efforts here in Croatia actually received the award for the second time. The award is a competitive award in which teaching innovation is recognized. Our university has 21,000 students, 800 professors, and it's a great honor, to have been recognized. But the honor goes to the fact that we have an original idea. And we've got 5 professors who collaborate. And probably the most prominent among them is Professor Maldini. He's just a genuine, student-focused kind of colleague who makes every effort to get the job done. And that's so very valuable. One of the things you'll learn when you deal with a lot of professors is they're a little like politicians. They say a lot of things and sometimes don't always follow through. And with Professor Maldini, that's exactly the opposite reality. He always finishes the job, as is the case with my colleagues from South Africa, Georgia, and Ukraine. So it's a part of what we do, and an important part. We really value the relationship with Dubrovnik. An awful lot of universities have this sense of arrogance about who they are, but Dubrovnik's always been incredibly open and willing to go along with ideas and support new directions. So I'm a big fan of this place. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for being our guest. It was good to be with you, Clara.
Bio je to profesor dr. Richard Farkas sa sveučilišta DePaul u Chicagu. Razgovarali smo o super izbornoj godini i interesu mladih za politiku. S vama je bila Klara Zvanić.